All right, here we go. Let's dive into what's been one of the biggest talking points in the NFL lately, tush push, and why it continues to spark debates across the league. This play, which has become almost synonymous with the Philadelphia Eagles, is not just a football tactic anymore. It's a statement, a symbol, a lightning rod. And as much as people want to either crown it or bury it, the reality is that the brotherly shove is here to stay for now. Now, if you've been paying attention to anything NFL related over the last few months, you know the tush push has been under heavy fire. There were reports everywhere, insiders talking with certainty, suggesting that his days were numbered. Names like Rappaport, Schefter, and others were all essentially nodding in agreement that this thing was going to get wiped out of the playbook. And when heavy hitters like that are leaning in one direction, you start to think, yeah, this thing's as good as gone. But then came the twist. The big moment when it didn't happen. The ban didn't go through. And that in itself says a lot. So let's backtrack just a bit. The Green Bay Packers brought the proposal to get rid of the tush push. And for a while, it looked like it might actually happen. There was momentum, there was talk, there was pressure. Even Commissioner Roger Goodell reportedly was doing his best to get owners on board. The initial vote was split down the middle, 16-16. That told us there was hesitation, but also support. Then it swung to 22-10. Progress, right? But still not enough to hit the threshold to officially ban the play. And here's where it gets good. 10 teams held firm. 10 teams stood their ground and said, no, we're not killing this play. Among them, the Eagles, obviously, but also teams like the Ravens, Browns, Lions, Jaguars, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, Jets, and Titans. And to all of them, salute, because they understood something vital. That punishing a team for being too good at something is the exact opposite of what competition is supposed to be about. Here's the truth. The Eagles have turned the tush push into an art form. It's not just brute force, though. Yeah, there's a lot of that. It's precision, it's timing, it's coaching, it's execution at a level that no other team has been able to replicate. People love to talk about how unfair it is, how nobody else can do it, how it ruins the game. But let's ask the real question. Why can't other teams do it? The answer is simple. They don't have the same personnel. They don't have an offensive line filled with all-pro and Pro Bowl level talent. They don't have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who can squat 600 pounds and drive through defenders with the strength of a running back and the balance of a gymnast. Let's take the Buffalo Bills as an example. They ran the tush push, the second most in the league behind the Eagles. They tried to make it work. And sure, they had some success. But when it came down to crunch time in the AFC Championship game, they ran it 4 times and got stopped 4 times. Why? Because they don't have Hurts. Josh Allen is a monster, no doubt. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, and plays like a linebacker. But he's taller. He doesn't get as low, and he doesn't have the same lower body power or leverage. That's not a knock. That's just a fact. Hurts can get down into a stance that gives him a natural advantage. He drives forward with efficiency. He's mastered the technique. That's not luck. That's work. And let's talk about the coaching here. The Eagles didn't just stumble into this play. They've studied it, refined it, built their offense around moments where it can be the difference between a field goal and a touchdown, a punt and a fresh set of downs. That takes planning. That takes vision. So when the league starts thinking about banning something just because one team figured out how to use it better than everyone else, that's not regulation. That's envy. Now, some folks are trying to come at this from the safety angle. They say it's dangerous. They say players can get hurt. But here's the kicker. The league actually did a study on this. They looked at the data, and guess what? No increase in injuries. None. Not to quarterbacks, not to linemen, not to anyone. So why is this narrative of danger still floating around? Maybe it looks dangerous. Maybe it seems violent. But isn't that football? Linemen engage in heavy contact on every single snap. Running backs get crushed by linebackers. Receivers take hits across the middle. The tush push? Statistically, it's one of the safest plays in the game. And I loved what Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie reportedly said. He called it the safest play in all of football. Think about that. The quarterback is protected by bodies on both sides. He's not out there exposed, rolling out, hoping not to take a blindside hit. He's got a wall of muscle in front of him and another wave of support behind him. That's protection. That's safety. So this idea that it's somehow putting players at risk, it doesn't hold up. And let's be honest about something else. The entertainment value. There are people out there saying it's an ugly play, that it lacks finesse, that it's boring. And to that I say, have you actually watched a game in Philly? Have you seen the crowd when the Eagles line up for that 4th and 1? People rise to their feet. There's tension. There's drama. The whole stadium holds its breath. You think that's not entertaining? It's become must-watch TV. And if the NFL is truly a product built on spectacle and theater, like so many say it is, then how can you say the tush push doesn't deliver? Even Colin Cowherd, who we all know doesn't hold back on his takes, had a moment of clarity when he said Jason Kelce might have been the difference maker in keeping the play alive. And you know what? That wouldn't surprise me one bit. Jason Kelce is a legend, not just because of his play, but because of how he carries himself. He is smart. He's passionate. He knows how to lead. And if he stood up in front of undecided owners and said, look, this play is part of what makes us great. And if I could run it 60 times a game, I'd come out of retirement. You better believe that carried weight. That's not just a speech. That's conviction. That's legacy. And when Kelce speaks, people listen. The whole situation even took a little bit of a ridiculous turn when teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers started putting out tweets and videos showing how they stopped the tush push. Like, cool, you stopped it. Nice job. But didn't you also vote to ban it? You can't brag about stopping something you wanted gone. You can't flex your success while trying to eliminate the competition. That's weak. If you're really proud of beating the Eagles at their own game, then keep the game alive. And you can tell this whole thing has become bigger than football. It's a battle of philosophies. On one side, you've got tradition, power, and innovation. On the other, fear, regulation, and excuses. And the Eagles, they're at the center of it all, unapologetically pushing forward, literally and figuratively. They've made the play their identity. They've owned it. And now, every time they line up in that formation, it's going to be a statement, a reminder that they didn't just win a vote. They earned the right to keep dominating. The league might revisit the issue in the future, maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now. But for now, the brotherly shove lives on. And you better believe it's going to be used with even more purpose. Every time Hurts takes a snap under center with inches to go, it's going to feel bigger than the down and distance. It's going to feel like a challenge to the rest of the league. Can you stop us because we're not stopping ourselves? Now, before we wrap this section, let's pivot for a minute into another hot topic that's got people talking, the quarterback tiers. Pro Football Focus dropped their list, and it stirred the pot like it always does. No shockers in the top tier. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Then you get to tier 2, and right there at number 5 is Jalen Hurts. And look, whether you love the Eagles or love to hate them, Hurts deserves to be in that spot. He's earned it. The numbers, the wins, the moments, he's checked all the boxes. I'll continue with the next part to match the word count you requested. He's led his team to a Super Bowl. He's played at an MVP level. He's delivered in the clutch. And he's done it all while carrying the weight of a franchise that demands excellence. Hurts doesn't just manage games. He impacts them. He dictates them. And maybe his passing numbers don't always pop off the screen like some others, but here's the thing. Context matters. You can't talk about Hurts' 2024 season without talking about the offensive philosophy that surrounded him. Remember, the Eagles leaned heavily into their run game. They had Saquon Barkley having arguably the best single season ever by a running back. That's not just hyperbole. That's a statistical truth. And when your offense is built around that kind of ground attack, your quarterback naturally takes a step back in the passing game. It's not a regression. It's a redistribution. You want balance. You want efficiency. You want wins. And the Eagles got plenty of those. Look at A.J. Brown. He missed a handful of games and still cleared 1,000 yards. Still earned All-Pro. Recognition. Look at Devonta Smith. Another incredibly productive season. Dallas Goedert missed time and was still a threat every time he lined up. So no, the passing game wasn't broken. It was just playing second fiddle to a historic rushing campaign. And yet, when the game was on the line, when they needed a throw on 3rd and long, Hurts was there. Calm, poised, delivering. Now let's get into the spicy part. Chris Sims and his take. He had the audacity to suggest that C.J. Stroud should be ranked ahead of Jalen Hurts. That Stroud, after his rookie season, has done enough to leapfrog a proven leader, a Super Bowl contender, a franchise cornerstone. And look, I'm not here to bash Stroud. The kid's talented. He showed poise. He played through injuries to his O-line and receiving corps. But we're really putting him over Hurts already after one season? What happened to earning it over time? What happened to consistency? What happened to actually winning something before being crowned? Hurts has playoff wins. He's been in MVP talks. He's played on the biggest stage. Stroud, he had flashes, he had moments, but one season isn't a legacy. One good year doesn't rewrite the standard. And when Sims says people forget the 10 games before the Super Bowl where the Eagles' passing game was a problem, he's missing the bigger picture. Football isn't just about stats. It's about situations. It's about flow. Sometimes you're not lighting it up through the air because you don't have to. Because your defense is locking things down. Because your run game is eating clock. Because you're playing smart. Winning football isn't always about style. It's about substance. And Hurts brought plenty of it. Even when the passing volume dipped, the command never did. He knew when to take shots. He knew when to take care of the ball. He knew how to keep his team in rhythm. And when it came down to high leverage moments, he showed up. So let's stop pretending that lower passing yards or fewer attempts somehow equal regression. It's all about context, always. There's this weird thing that happens with Jalen Hurts, where the conversation gets toxic for no reason. Like there's this undercurrent of folks waiting to pounce on any flaw. He throws a pick, he's overrated, he has a low yardage game, he's a system guy. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's ridiculous because if we're keeping it real, Hurts does everything you ask of a quarterback. He leads, he prepares, he performs, he elevates the guys around him. And when the lights are brightest, he's not blinking. It's funny too how people want to crown CJ Stroud already, but completely ignore the circumstances that helped Hurts thrive. People act like Hurts walked into a finished product, like he was gifted this perfect team and just coasted. No, he had to earn his spot, he had to grow. He had to build chemistry, take hits, bounce back, learn from losses, and carry the burden of a fan base that isn't exactly known for patience. And now, after all that, after everything he's proven, there's still hesitation to give him his due? Nah, that's not how this works. Hurts belongs in that tier too, right behind the elite. And honestly, depending on the week, depending on the game, he's right there with them. He's knocking on that tier 1 door because he brings that same fire, that same edge, that same whatever it takes mentality that you see in Mahomes or Allen or Burrow. The guy is a gamer, point blank, and don't think for a second that he isn't aware of the conversations, that he doesn't hear the noise, that he isn't using it. Hurts is wired differently. He's built for pressure, built for criticism. He's been doubted his whole career. And what's he done every step of the way? Prove people wrong. From Alabama to Oklahoma to Philly, from second-round pick to franchise cornerstone. The story's still being written, but the chapter's so far legendary. So to sum it all up, and we're not closing out yet, we're just hitting that first big pause. The tush push stays. The Eagles win that battle. Jalen Hurts gets the respect he deserves, whether people want to give it or not. And this team is just getting started. You want to stop the brotherly shove, you better build a roster to do it. You want to knock Hurts off that tier 2 pedestal, you better do it on the field. Because talk is cheap. Philly football is not. And speaking of fire, let's go even deeper into the ripple effects of all this controversy, because we're not just talking about a play or a quarterback ranking. We're talking about a shift in how the league views power, innovation, and dominance. The Eagles have changed the narrative, and whether people want to admit it or not, they forced the NFL to confront something uncomfortable, that success doesn't always look how you want it to look. Sometimes it's not pretty, sometimes it doesn't fit the mold, but it works. And that's what the Eagles have done with the tush push, with their offensive philosophy, and with Jalen Hurts at the helm. They've forced a reckoning. Because now every time a team lines up on 4th and 1, the question won't just be, can they convert? It'll be, why can't they do it like the Eagles? That's the kind of impact we're talking about. That's what dominance does. It sets the bar. It makes everyone else reevaluate. And the fact that the league was even considering banning the play is a testament to how unstoppable Philly has been. You don't try to outlaw something that doesn't work. You try to outlaw the thing you can't stop. And the Eagles, in that moment, became the boogeyman. That's power. That's influence. And it extends beyond just one team, because now you've got coaches, general managers, and owners all watching tape, trying to figure out how to counter this. Do we need to draft different types of linemen? Do we need a quarterback with a different build? Do we change our short yardage philosophy entirely? These are the kinds of ripple effects that don't show up in a box score but shape the league in real time. And Jalen Hurts is at the center of that. He's not just benefiting from this system, he's elevating it. His leadership, his physicality, his calm under pressure, they're what allow this system to reach its peak. You take Hurts out of the equation, and it's just another sneak. But with him, it's a statement of identity, and that's why you can't rank him behind guys who've only flashed, who've shown promise but haven't carried the load. Hurts is battle-tested. He's been in the fire. And he's still standing. That's why when people like Chris Sims or Colin Cowherd start moving pieces around in their quarterback tiers, it's important to look beyond the surface. Yeah, a guy might have a higher yards per attempt stat. Yeah, someone else might have a stronger arm or flashier highlights. But who are you betting on in a playoff game? Who are you trusting on 3rd and 10 in the fourth quarter of a must-win? Hurts has answered that question, and he's done it repeatedly. There's also something to be said about how he carries himself. In a league full of personalities, egos, and drama, Hurts stays locked in. He doesn't chase headlines. He doesn't feed into nonsense. He leads by example, and that's contagious. You see it in how the locker room rallies around him. You see it in how veterans respect him. You see it in how the organization trusts him. That kind of maturity, that kind of consistency, that's rare. And it matters. It matters when you're down 10 in the fourth or need a spark. It matters when the media is coming for your neck and the city is holding its breath. Hurts doesn't flinch. He adapts. He finds a way. That's the kind of guy who wins you games in January. That's the kind of guy who lifts Lombardi trophies. And while we're not handing out rings today, we're recognizing the foundation being built. And speaking of foundations, let's not forget how crucial this offseason is going to be. With the tush push surviving, with Hurts healthy and hungry, and with the rest of the league watching their every move, the Eagles are entering 2025 with a massive target on their backs. Teams will be gunning for them, planning all offseason to stop them, to expose them, to dethrone them. And that's the beauty of it, because Philly wouldn't want it any other way. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Philadelphia is abuzz with the latest NFL rumor that could shake up the league. Marcus Williams, the star safety currently with the Baltimore Ravens, might be heading to the Philadelphia Eagles. While no official confirmation has been made, several sources close to the situation suggest that talks are heating up between the two franchises, sparking excitement and speculation among fans and analysts alike. The Eagles, coming off a season where their defense showed moments of brilliance but lacked consistency in the secondary, are reportedly eager to bolster their defensive backfield. Marcus Williams, known for his elite coverage skills, game-changing interceptions, and leadership on the field, would be a significant addition to the Eagles roster. His arrival could solidify the back end of the defense, allowing the Eagles to better contain the dynamic offenses they face in the NFC. Social media has been in a frenzy ever since whispers of this potential move surfaced. Eagles fans are already imagining Williams in midnight green, anchoring a defense that could once again lead them deep into the playoffs. The possibility of pairing Williams with young emerging talents and seasoned veterans has analysts debating just how far this team could go with such a formidable secondary. However, there are still obstacles to overcome. Williams is under contract with the Ravens, and any move would require substantial negotiations, whether through a trade or other complex roster maneuvers. Cap space considerations and long-term strategic planning will undoubtedly play significant roles in determining whether this rumored transfer materializes. Insiders note that Philadelphia's front office has been quietly aggressive this offseason, exploring various options to strengthen their squad for another Super Bowl run. Bringing in a player of Marcus Williams' caliber would certainly be a statement of intent. For now, the Eagles faithful can only hope that these murmurs translate into reality. One thing is clear. The idea of Marcus Williams donning the Eagles' uniform has already electrified the fan base and ignited dreams of a new era of defensive dominance in Philadelphia. As the NFL offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on this potential blockbuster move. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.